Have you ever prayed but never got an answer, and wondered if God was really there? Did you feel all hope was gone, but in His time He came along and answered the prayer you thought was gone? There is no prayer too small, for God hears them all. The answer may not be just what you want, but He always knows what's right, even when we think it's wrong. Just remember, there is no prayer too small. Will ask, you shall receive. No matter what it is, I still believe. There is no prayer too small, and even when we fall, He gives us just exactly what we need. There is no prayer too small, for God hears them all. The answer may not be just what you want, but He always knows what's right, even when we think it's wrong. Just remember, there is no prayer too small. No prayer too small. He always knows what's right. God hears them all. There is no prayer too small. My God hears them all. The answer may not be just what you want, but He always knows what's right, even when we think it's wrong. Just remember, there is no prayer too small. No prayer too small. No prayer too small. God hears them all.
Hello, my name is Ralf Friedrichs. I'm an addiction recovery coach and the host of the Take Your Life Back Today show. As an addiction recovery coach, I want to share something with you, and let me be crystal clear to leave an everlasting impact upon you. Just imagine being buried alive. You're in a coffin, but you know you're not dead. You don't know how to get out of that coffin. You tried lifting the lid, but the enormous weight upon the lid prevents the lid from opening. You tried banging on the lid to maybe unsettle the dirt, so that maybe, just maybe, somebody might dig their way down to help you. Nobody's there to help you. You think, at least. You just think you're going to die. This is what it's like to find yourself at the lowest point of alcohol and drug addiction. You know you need help. You know you can't do it on your own, but you don't know where to turn. You just think you're going to die. Usually, though, people don't think about death when they're habitually abusing drugs and alcohol. In order to feed an addiction, you have to be great at repressing the fear of death. I often ask you, my audience, did it ever cross your mind while you were abusing drugs and alcohol that maybe, just maybe, you might overdose and take something away that God gave you called life? More selfishly, you'll take your life away from the people that love you most and need you most. Your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, brother, sister, children, and grandchildren. With this, let me leave one last thought. Don't be like the person I just read about on these index cards that waited and waited until it was too late. Instead, pick up the phone and call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you I will help you take your life back, for your life is gone. People like Larry Geis from the Geis Academy at 516-458-2741. Larry Geis and I always tell people like you, it doesn't matter where you came from, it doesn't matter where you've been. What matters is that you're here looking for a better today and a brighter tomorrow. Larry Geis has over 30 years experience as a life coach, as an addiction recovery coach. You can find him at www.odysseyconsult.org. Larry Geis from the Geis Academy, 516-458-2741. Folks, don't forget to take your slippers off at night before you go to bed. But don't leave them by the edge of your bed. Stick them under your bed, about 1/3 under. That way in the morning, when God allows you to wake up, get out of your bed, get on your knees and retrieve those slippers. And while you're on your knees, thank God for another beautiful day to enjoy that stream and the waterfall behind me. Thank God for the clothing, the house, the relationships, the family you have. Ask God for guidance and direction for today and the week to come. Ask God for forgiveness and mercy upon you. Do this each and every night. Take your slippers off, put them under your bed, and in the morning retrieve your slippers and pray to God. I call this knee mail. K-N-E-E mail. Knee mail is your direct relationship to God, your direct link each and every day. You could say it's called an instant message, because it is instant. The minute it comes out of your mouth, it goes right to God's ears. Let today be a new day for you. Use knee mail, then put on your slippers. Stand straight up, roll your shoulders back, stick your chest out, and walk with God 24/7. What is self-medicating? A lot of people have asked me, and why is it that we do it? Well, let's talk about that. Understanding self-medicating. Addiction can be a whirlwind of destruction, my friends, of highs, lows, emotions run riot. Why do people become addicted? That's the million-dollar question, and it's different for everyone. It can depend on genetics, environment, trauma, and even mental illness. It's not uncommon to hear that some people affected by substance use disorder have been self-medicating. What does self-medicating mean? It is something everyone does. I should say, is it something that everyone does? I believe it is a component to many people's using. We are convinced in today's world that we should not feel pain, which leads us to numb ourselves. Let's explore exactly what self-medication is and why we do it. What is self-medicating? Google defines self-medication as an act of choosing and taking medications by oneself instead of by prescription or under recommendation of a doctor or other medical professionals. Their second definition is taking addictive or habituating drugs to relieve stress or other conditions. It doesn't always have to be addictive drugs. Self-medicating can also refer to taking over-the-counter medications to treat ailments such as headaches or fevers. But in the case of substance use disorder, self-medicating is a coping mechanism, and an unhealthy one at that. When we run into tough problems in our lives, or we feel uncomfortable due to pain and emotions, our first instinct may be to try to run away from these feelings. What better way to do that than with drugs and alcohol? I believe many people who have an addiction are attempting to alter their reality in some way for whatever reason. You might have back pain, and to deal with it, you have maybe 3 beers every night. You may have a loved one who just passed away, and the emotional depth of your pain won't subside, so you take Percocet every single day. You might have a big exam coming up, which your job depends on, so you take Adderall to help you concentrate. You just broke up with your significant other, and that's why you went to happy hour every day this week. These are all common examples of self-medicating. In our society where alcohol is promoted on television and in newspapers and magazines and on online relentlessly, it's no wonder that martini is the first thing that we turn to when we feel pain. Self-medicating is a learned human behavior. If it's not a healthy way to cope, why is it that we do it? Why do we do it? I'll tell you why. How do we learn to self-medicate is another question. We might have seen others doing it around us. We live in a society where the pain is not an emotion and wants to be dealt with. It is an emotion and wants to be dealt with. But I do believe that we also self-medicate because it works. It works for a time until it doesn't work anymore. The thing about self-medicating is that it doesn't remove the pain from our lives. It almost never changes the situation or the emotions that we are required to deal with. That's why, as part of recovery, we are required to learn new coping mechanisms, and the goal is to learn how to deal with life and life's terms. It's unrealistic to think that nothing bad will ever happen to us in our lives and we can live pain-free 100% of our time. What we can learn is to live with the pain and work on our internal selves and how we process pain and how we manage it. If self-medication works, why should you stop, you might ask? How can we stop self-medicating? The reality is self-medicating can be harmful. This type of coping mechanism can lead to addiction and can exacerbate an already troublesome issue with dangerous substances like drugs and alcohol. The dangers of self-medicating include the following. Mixed medications used in medications that may interact could cause an accidental overdose, even death. Inaccurate medical diagnosis. If you aren't a medical professional, you could be misdiagnosing yourself and mistreating yourself with certain medications. Covering symptoms. By self-medicating, you could actually be covering up symptoms that are worse than they appear. It may mask a bigger problem. Delaying real medical care, just like with an inaccurate diagnosis, delaying real medical care can be risky. You may be missing something more severe, or you could be put off getting help until something is much worse. Of course, anytime you self-medicate with dangerous substances like alcohol and drugs, you are at a higher risk for developing an addiction. Short-term solution. As I mentioned earlier, self-medication is only a short-term solution. It doesn't ever get to the root of the issue that's making you want to self-medicate. It can make you feel better for a short time, but in the end, it doesn't remove the pain from your life. While you may believe self-medication is an effective strategy, it can do more damage than good. In order to leave behind these risks, we must stop self-medicating. If you know you're using drugs and alcohol to deal with the stress, emotions, or everyday life, recovery might be the best path for you. Self-medicating won't be able to last your whole life, through. Recovery, on the other hand, can. There are many options on how to start your life in recovery. Addiction treatment, 12-step groups, smart recovery, recovery coaches, and many others. The beauty of recovery is getting in touch with your inner self, learning new ways to cope, and how to function as a member of society who doesn't need self-medicating in order to live. Recovery allows us to be in touch with our emotions, but not overwhelmed by them. It can teach us why we drank and used in the first place and how to move on from our life ruled by substances. If self-medication has been your way, or dealing with anything life throws at you, and you're still unhappy, it's likely you need change quickly. Recovery is the greatest change anyone can make, and the most important change. It's a lifelong solution. Leaving self-medication behind and trying sobriety could be the best decision you have ever made, and it may be the solution that you have been searching for all of your life. Self-medication is a band-aid, a temporary solution to a big problem. Learning to live in recovery, learning to deal with the issues that you have, and living a life of sobriety is the only answer. If you're self-medicating, you are just putting a band-aid on a bigger problem. And if you keep self-medicating, you have the risk of overdose and even death. Don't be like this person I read about at the beginning of this segment, that waited and waited and waited until it was too late. Call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you I will help you take your life back, and may God bless you.
Have you ever prayed but never got an answer? And was really there? Did you feel all hope was gone, but in His time He came along and answered the prayer you thought was gone? There is no prayer too small, for God hears them all. The answer may not be just what you want, but He always knows what's right, even when we think it's wrong. Just remember, there is no prayer too small. I have read if you will ask, you shall receive. No matter what it is, I still believe. There is no prayer too small, and even when we fall, He gives us just exactly what we need. There is no prayer too small, for God hears them all. The answer may not be just what you want, but He always knows what's right, even when we think it's wrong. Just remember, there is no prayer too small. No prayer too small. He always knows what's right. God hears them all. There is no prayer too small. My God hears them all. The answer may not be just what you want, but He always knows what's right, even when we think it's wrong. Just remember, there is no prayer too small. No prayer too small. No prayer too small. God hears